Boom. Okay. Tommy Robinson is free. That's the big news this week. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, sporting a very stylish beard that I understand he has already cut off. So that's a shame. But it's good news in kind of a limited way, which we'll explain in a moment, that he's out. But can you give us some of the background here, sir?
So that is indeed Tommy's beard. Some of us thought it would have been hilarious if he got out and pretended that he had converted to Islam and run with that for a few days, and all the Dawa guys would have asked him to come on their channels to explain things, and then he could have gotten onto a really big one and then gone, ha ha, psych. Um, But no, he went and shaved it. Now, what's interesting, Robert, and I'm thinking about making a quick little video about this, is he's got a cross and a rosary there.
Yes. I thought that was interesting indeed.
Yeah, I'd always thought that I thought that he was an atheist based on things that he said, but I can't think of anything specific. But I asked people during a live stream yesterday, and everyone said, yeah, he was an atheist or an agnostic or something like that. So, but then Tusi from Tusi TV said that he converted in prison, but I only heard that from Tusi, and then of course Tommy's there wearing a cross. So anyway, it'd be interesting to see what actually happened. But yeah, Tommy spent 7 months in solitary.
Incredible.
I've been locked up before. One, I've never seen anyone in prison for the kinds of things that Tommy was in prison for. The sort of like contempt of court and doing this and that. These are things that you would get in the U.S. You'd, even if you like really push something really hard, contempt of court or something like that, you're talking a fine, and you're talking like what, 30 days in jail, or normally contempt of court, they put you in jail and then you get out a couple hours later or something like that. But if it was like extreme contempt of court, you're talking like 30 days in jail or something like that. But anyway, so he does all these things, which should be, even if he's guilty, should be something like a fine or something like a quick jail stay. But they keep putting him in prison. And then when he's in prison now, Robert, I was told the entire time, so these entire 7 months, whenever I bring up Tommy being in solitary, and I would say something about it, people would say, "Ah, yes, but he wanted to be in solitary. He was given the choice of either being in solitary or being put into the general population. He doesn't want to get killed, and so he chooses solitary." He got out and said that's a total lie. He told them, "I would rather fight every day of my life than have you just like destroying me psychologically." So he wanted to be in general population. They wouldn't let him. But I have to say, I do have a little experience being in solitary. I wasn't there being punished. I was in there because of mental health issues. So anyway, they'd stick me in solitary, and if you spend some time, significant amount of time in solitary, you start acting weird, and I don't know why. Probably ask people about this, but I think it's just when you're communicating with other people, you're using a part of your brain. And if you're not around other people communicating and interacting, you're just not using that part of the brain, and it just atrophies like a muscle or something like that. And then by the time you start talking to people, you're acting weird. So I'm saying that from experience. I've seen that before. And when he got out of prison in 2018, he was acting like he had PTSD. He was acting weird. He looked like messed up in his face. So what's interesting is I thought he was going to be significantly worse because that was just after a couple months in solitary last time. So I thought he was going to come out significantly worse this time, but just seemed like his regular self, and instantly was calling for a rally and instantly giving speeches and stuff. So anyway, it's a question of why he's so much better off this time than he was last time. And got two basic theories. One, he came out with two massive carts of mail. I'm talking like huge bins of mail that had been to people who wrote him while he was in prison, and he said that's after they'd already brought out several loads of mail. So, and he said he read everything. So people were writing him constantly. That probably helped. And the other thing is, if he was getting right with God while he's in there somehow, that probably helped him. But anyway, he's noticeably better getting out of prison than he was last time.
Yes, and yet it's May 28th. In a week, he's due back in court. and is very possible that he will go back into prison, especially in light of the fact that he has said that the sorry, lost my train of thought. He has said that the freedom of speech is under attack in Britain, and consequently he's going to have this big rally in September. And I think that's just the kind of thing that's going to land him in prison again, because the British authorities are indeed just as bad as they say. And so it's going to be a rough time for him, I'm afraid.
And it's kind of smart because so he's going to have a big rally, and they can either let him go through with the rally, in which case people will be much more active, or they can lock him up again to try and shut down the rally, in which case they're just proving his point. That's the amazing thing. I mean, every time they keep coming after him, and the entire time they're proving his point every single time. So yeah, it's wild stuff. I just have to say, is everyone in the U.S. is as messed up as things get here. Just rejoice that things could be significantly worse. You could be in the UK.
Yes, and there are people there who speak out about these issues to some degree, but nobody has been out there talking about things that nobody else dares to talk about the activities of the Muslim rape gangs, the Islamic character of the rape gang activity. Nobody but Tommy has been out there on that. And this is why the British government has been targeting him, why they want to destroy him, quite literally, why they treat him this way in prison, why they keep throwing him in prison. If he were a leftist activist who had done every last one of the things that he's accused of doing and being jailed for doing, he might get, like you said, some kind of token fine, maybe that, if that. And he would be being lionized in the press everywhere. But because he's calling attention to these things that the British government and media establishment wants covered up, he's persona non grata. He's public enemy number one. And so, there are people who they criticize Tommy. I've known Tommy myself for many years, and sometimes people come up and they say, well, Tommy does this or that. You got to understand, this is bigger than Tommy at this point. Tommy is the symbol, like it or not, of the freedom of Britain and its attempt to stave off becoming conquered and Islamized. And he is the main person standing in the breach there. Everybody should be standing behind him if they want to see Britain continue as a free society.
Yeah, and for people who weren't following it back in the day, hey, everyone, you know how you've heard of these grooming gangs and that tens of thousands of young British girls were groomed, raped, gang raped, drugged, pimped, and so on? You still may have not heard about that if it weren't for Tommy Robinson, because everyone was trying to cover it up. All the politicians were trying to cover it up. To be fair, there were a couple of exceptions here and there and stuff, but they'd just get drowned out, and they'd be targeted if they brought it up. Journalists across the board, everyone knew what was going on. Everyone in places of authority, they all knew this was going on, and they were all keeping it quiet because they were told, if you bring this up, you're a racist, because you have to say it's a bunch of Muslims raping a bunch of white British girls. And so it was just, they all knew, keep your mouth closed about that. They were all terrified. And Tommy Robinson was by far the main guy who was blowing the whistle on this thing. And what did they do? Congratulate him? No, they have been at war with him ever since. And so then they've been blasting him on this for years. That's why they were going after him. But he kept speaking more and more and more until eventually politicians and journalists actually had to comment on it, and people around the world find out about it. But because they were already going after him and he's exposing them for trying to silence him, then he becomes a guy who keeps talking about freedom of speech and how the government is suppressing people's ability to even draw attention to these things. And this is what they keep proving him right on, because it was that communist dude or something like that who said, show me the guy and I'll find you the crime. Meaning I can point to someone and I will find, if you want that guy locked up, I will find something. I will go after him hard enough to find something to lock him up for. And you see what they're doing. It's like, oh, contempt of court, and we're going to toss you in prison and stuff. It's like, I'd never heard of that before, but they're proving all of that correct. If we don't like you and we don't like what you're saying, and we don't like you drawing attention to what we're doing, we'll just come up to you and say, hey, give us the password on your phone. No. Okay, you're going to prison. That's what they're doing. That's the level of stuff that they're doing to Tommy right now. So hats off to him. But man, that place sucks over there. Sucks. Love to go to his rally in September. Sadly, I'm not allowed there, and you're not allowed there.
Yeah, I was thinking, man, that would be one thing I would not miss, but I'm gonna miss it. In any case, yeah, everything.
Hey, hang on. Maybe we should pretend to convert to Islam, and then they'll let us in, and we go to the rally. Hey, we'll go there dressed in full Islamic gear. We'll get up on stage, and then we pull it off. It's still us.
And then we spend the next 6 months in the British prison.